If you go down to chapter 11 with me, let's read. But, and that word, whenever you read the word but, it's usually not good news, right? We've just been spending 3 chapters talking about the glory of Solomon's kingdom. And then in verse 11, it starts with but. But King Solomon loved many foreign women, as well as the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites, from the nations of whom the Lord had said to the children of Israel, you shall not intermarry with them, nor they with you. Surely they will turn away your hearts after their gods. Solomon clung to these in love, and he had 700 wives. Can you imagine? Princesses, and 300 concubines. That's 1,000 in total. And his wives turned away his heart. For it was so when Solomon was old that his wives turned his heart after other gods. By the way, young people, does it matter who you marry? It matters a lot, doesn't it? And his heart was not loyal to the Lord his God, as was the heart of his father David. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord. He did not fully follow the Lord, as did his father David. Then Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, on the hill that is east of Jerusalem, and also for Molech, the abomination of the people of Ammon. And he did likewise for all of his foreign wives who burned incense and sacrificed to their God. What we read about here is a failure so epic that it led not only to the downfall of Solomon's life, though it was at the end of his life, but also this downfall, Solomon's sin, was the beginning of the downfall of the entire nation of Israel. It was Solomon himself who wrote in this book of Proverbs that he authored, for the most part, who said to look to your own wife, to the wife of your youth for satisfaction. Be satisfied with the wife of your youth. He says that in Proverbs chapter 5. Yet he fails to heed the proverb that he wrote down and spoke to his son. And these beautiful women that he married, pagan women who God had commanded that no one in Israel should marry, led him down to a path of destruction. And I can just imagine, right? Solomon, baby, build me one of those altars like we have back home. And as the saying goes, right? Happy wife, happy life. Right? We need to keep our wife happy. And so he went down that path of destruction. Continuing on, it says here at 1 Kings 11, starting in verse 9, picking up in verse 9, so the Lord became angry with Solomon because his heart had turned from the Lord God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice, and had commanded him concerning the things that he should not go after other gods. But he did not keep what the Lord had commanded. Therefore the Lord said to Solomon, because you have done this and have not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded you, I will surely tear the kingdom away from you and give it to your servant. Nevertheless, I will not do it in your days for the sake of your father David. I will tear it out of the hand of your son. However, I will not tear away the whole kingdom. I will give one tribe to your son for the sake of my servant David and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen. And as many of you know, the kingdom was divided after this into 2 kingdoms, the north and the south. And there was pockets of positivity among those years, but most of that time, after this time, until Israel was carried away, both the northern and the southern kingdom, until they were carried away, was a lot of sin and rebellion against the Lord. Now, when we read Proverbs chapter 4, there was a lot of very comforting promises in there, right? Blessings that will come to anyone who heeds what we'll call Lady Wisdom, because wisdom is many times portrayed by Solomon and others too as a lady. There are promises of blessing that will attend to those who heed her. But there are also other promises that come along in the Proverbs, right? For every promise of blessing, there's also a promise for those who refuse to heed wisdom. We read about this last week in the first chapter of Proverbs, and I'll just read this section. Because you disdain all my counsel, this is wisdom itself speaking, or wisdom herself, I could say, speaking. Because you disdained all my counsel and would have none of my rebuke, I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your terror comes, when your terror comes like a storm and your destruction comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you. You see, Proverbs and wisdom itself is a double-edged sword. If we attend to wisdom, if we listen to wisdom, if we follow her instruction, we will find blessing and we will find life. But if we fail to do so, the other side of that sword is cursing and destruction and death. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like something else that we find in the Old Testament? You see, Proverbs is just a part of the law, isn't it? Do this and you will be blessed. Don't do this and you will be cursed. And I think this is the big thing, the big idea I want you to take away today, that Proverbs is part of the law. It's not in the law of Moses per se, but it is the same type of thing.